So it's been interesting because, even in our groups and a lot of people throughout in recovery right now, like with this time, based on the conversation me and you were talking about earlier, just the fear. And, you don't think maybe you're feeling the fear, but I think a lot of people are. Like, I'm just seeing it, man. Like, people don't act like they're scared, but like deep down in their brain, like they're struggling and they're worried and that fear. And I think it's leading a lot of people back out to using. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. I mean, I think regardless of what's happening in like life right now, like everyone deals with fear to a certain extent. The whole populace does, and especially addiction, like addicts and alcoholics. But then you compound that with the mess that 2020 has been for most people. And there's definitely a lot of underlying fear. But yeah, why don't we introduce our guest?
Yeah.
So we're live with Big T, Tyler. He's been an awesome part of my recovery and Dustin's and this program in general.
He's my sponsor.
Yeah.
He's
Dustin's sponsor.
Taught me a lot.
Leading him to change.
Yeah.
He's a member of our board of directors. He's helped out like expanding the spiritual side of our program, introducing a lot of our clients to the steps, the principles behind the steps. And you've been sober from everything, and specifically methamphetamines for
about 8.5 years now.
8.5 years.
Wow.
Yep.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I'm really so interesting story. We could maybe start there, but so me and you met. Let's see, he's coming up on almost a year. Well, over a year.
Yeah, look at that.
Sandy
Flores loves that guy.
There's your wife.
I
Beautiful
definitely
wife.
love you, baby.
Hello, Sandy.
We all love you.
What was it? 1.5 years we met?
Yeah,
Because it was in the spring.
about July, I think.
Yeah, it was
Wasn't it?
No, it was like in the spring because I don't know. It was like in the spring because we had started the program. So anyway, I had met Tyler. He came rolling over. He was looking for some help, like getting into he had heard about war and was looking for some help, like with his like exercise and adding to his recovery. So we hit it off immediately, and then I asked him if he would help put the spiritual program and like the 12-step program and kind of run that program inside of our 90-day recovery program. And so then you and Paul and then we started that whole journey, building the program over there in South Ogden. And I'll tell you what, I will tell you what, the WAR program, SOAR program completely changed when we brought the principles of truth behind the 12 steps and that whole thing into it. You know what I mean? So awesome. It's kind of just crazy how things work out. Like I just get blown away. I'm actually just blown away. I analyze the process that's happened since we've met, and I think I talk about this every week on the podcast. People are probably just tired of it, but it's just wild. So thanks for coming on, bro.
Well, thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me be part of SOAR with you guys.
Yeah,
I'm really grateful for that.
It's been a fun journey. What do you think about the topic of fear and like, I guess in general, or
and what
how it's creeping into your life recently, or people around you that you've noticed, or the recovery community, or what?
Well, like I was telling you guys earlier, and I've told you before, talking with a few guys that's, in the program that have, like 30 plus years, of working the steps and working a program of recovery. They kind of just said, with everything that's going on in the world right now with this Corona stuff, subconsciously it's in the back of our mind that something's wrong, though it may not be at the surface. It's in the back of our mind. And so, that's bringing up a lot of stuff in recovery, whether it's resentments, fears, being dishonest, that kind of stuff, and how I've shared with you guys, it kind of brought up, some insecurities and some jealous issues that kind of just came out of left field for me. So I really had to, work through them, even though I struggled for several months, those guys in the program told me, just keep doing what you've been doing the last 8 years. And and you'll get through it, and it's going to be okay. But it really has affected a lot of people in the recovery community. Relapses are on the rise, suicides are on the rise. Just everything's just pretty bad right now, in the recovery community. So, you got to stay the course and be vigilant and do your best.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, one of the tenets or principles that we often talk about in the SOAR program, and it's, prevalent in the steps, and is just this idea of like surrender. And, it's like not about your will anymore and about like you living this selfish life. It's about giving back. It's about trying to do like a greater mission, be involved in a greater cause, and kind of like, giving it up to your higher powers will. And I think that this, like, all of 2020 and what we've all been through collectively recently is like a loss of control. And so like each of us in our own ways is trying to like, seek control in our own lives again.
Wow.
And it's like, it's kind of problematic, especially for populations like people like us.
Well, yeah, we've been trying to, that's been the whole problem, in my recovery is a perfectionist. I need to know, I need to control.
Right.
And now we're in this time and dude, I'm so thankful for the perspective that I've captured just in this year and a half with the steps and with my higher power. Cause it's really, for me, it's really prepared me for this time. If I didn't have this perspective I'm carrying around nowadays, even though I do experience fear, but I'm learning as I exercise as I compete with my fears, and I believe that my higher power is going to help me through those fears and help me. And that, if I make like Tyler, you always say, Tyler, make the next right decision, and I keep building my life on a foundation of health, like I can handle it. I can handle anything that's thrown at me. I really, but does it still suck? Am I still scared a lot of times? Of course, but I think a lot of people are. So.
And that's the beautiful thing about working a program in recovery. And what I've learned, over the last little while is, no matter what's happened, we can get through it and not pick up and use our tools. There's always someone in the program or working a program in recovery that's been through it and gone through it, whether it's death or someone died of suicide or whatever, divorce, whatever it may be. So it's always good to rely on those people and talk with them and surround yourself with them and see how they got through it,
Absolutely. I think that's huge. Like relying on the group, the advice, the mentorship of people you surround yourself with. Like you're saying, in any room or, especially here at SOAR, if you've got a problem, chances are someone's been through a similar problem. And that's what's interesting about all this is that like no one in recovery has been through a worldwide pandemic before and, riots and just everything that's been happening. And so it's like people don't know how to deal with it, which is why like I think a lot of people are going out, but there are people that are dealing with it right now. We all are. And there's people that are, dealing with it, some better than others, just in the way that they approach life and carry themselves and not let it like throw them off balance, And I think that's the key is like you staying, like you were saying, solid and having this foundation of recovery and health and sticking true to these principles no matter what's happening.
Yeah.
Easier said than done for sure.
Well, how I dealt with it the last couple of weeks, I bought some Halloween candles.
Yeah.
and had to let my wife know, like I might have spent some money that I probably shouldn't have, but they're coming today.
Right.
So
those candles bring you comfort.
yes, they do. And we're good. If the electricity goes out again, I got like hundreds of candles.
You got light and a good smelling house.
Absolutely.
I do that with things. I remember like 2 or 3 weekends ago, I was like sitting on the couch and I just left SOAR and I was like, all right, I'm done for the weekend. God, what am I going to do now? I was like, how am I going to make myself feel better? I'm like, I know. And then I went on Amazon and bought new like gym stuff. Like I bought new gym wraps for my wrists and knee sleeves. I was like, this purchase will make me feel better.
Right.
This will bring my condition up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, I watch people in early recovery, like people, even people we're working with right now, and they don't have a foundation of health at all. They're standing on sand.
Right.
And so every little thing, it's so much of early recovery is just just sitting in it and just relying on the group and relying on people to help you see this different way of life. But if they can endure and they can, and just kind of sit in it, and like, all the bad things that are the financial things are coming at them, everything that we all have dealt with. But if they make it through that, like, but getting them to not go back out in those first part because it hurts so bad and they're so scared. You know what I'm saying? And they know that substance is going to provide them with that false comfort, like it has. They've got that reward of that comfort.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it just scares. It just sucks. It just sucks trying to see people go through that early part.
How do you get someone to change their life and their habits when their whole foundation is supported by that, relationship to the substance?
Yeah.
It's a hefty task for sure.
That's why with some of these young guys that we have in SOAR that are like 18, 19, 20, like really trying to plug it in their hearts and their mind that, if they can get a hold of this thing now and learn some tools in their life, they won't have to, suffer another 15, 20 years like some of us had to, to get to that certain spot. You don't have to let it get that bad like some of us do, where you're living out of your truck in Salt Lake or wandering the streets in Ogden during winter and stuff like that. You don't have to let it get that bad, but some of them are going to have to go through that though, to get to that spot. That's just how it is. It's tough.
I say that a lot because we work with different people in here, obviously different substances and different age groups. And I think that you have to approach it a little differently. So, we just started our youth group back up, and like teenagers that we were working with. And it's similar, obviously it's like the same manual, the same courses, the same frameworks, same principles, but you have to approach it a little differently with teenagers. Yeah. And I'm hesitant to call it like, the teenage addiction program, because it's like, obviously you do get addicts, but a lot of it is just,
they're front end.
They're front end. They're on the
smoking weed.
Yeah. Having trouble in school, smoking weed, drinking, behavioral issues, depression, anxiety. And so it's hard to get a young, say 16-year-old to be like, hey, be sober the rest of your life. So you have to approach it like bit by bit, and like, why don't you just try this program out? Your parents signed you up for 90 days, see what this lifestyle can do for you and what this foundation will do for you. But I usually say that in intakes and stuff is like, no one's going to convince you to do anything like for the rest of your life. Your parents aren't going to be able to keep you sober. School's not going to be able to keep you sober. We're not going to be able to. But if you try a little bit of diligence and just try to be willing and open-minded to this lifestyle, maybe we can show you something that will stick,
Yeah, and stick, and then maybe 6 or 7 years down the road, if you really are struggling, like you wake up one morning and can't be happy. Like I say that a lot to these kids. I'm like, what are you gonna do when you wake up one day and you can't find and you can't get one thought in your head that's positive,
right?
Which could happen, and it may be happening now. Like, what are you going to do? Like, hopefully you'll be like, oh, I remember what Hawk and Frank taught me and Tyler taught me. And I'm going to start going for a jog in the morning, and I'm going to pay attention to my nutrition because I know that how to balance my hormones, and that food is medicine, and that, and I'm going to start going to the gym and training. I know how to deadlift and power clean. Like, I got to start competing. I can't be happy, or I've made something my thing. Now I'm smoking weed every day. And that conversation we had yesterday with those kids was funny. This whole weed thing.
Yeah.
The weed thing with these kids is like, it's good for you. Like it gives you great thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It
helps with my anxiety.
It helps with my anxiety. That's the thing right now. It's oh, I got anxiety. Okay, well, when did you start having anxiety? Well, 2 years ago. Okay, well, when did you start smoking weed? Oh, well, 2 years ago. Oh, no shit. You got anxiety now, huh?
Yeah. Right.
Maybe the weed has given you anxiety, and then when you get sober and you're not high, now I have anxiety. I need to smoke weed again.
Right.
It's that same thing we talk about, The substance brings you up and then brings you down to normal at the beginning. And then it brings you up and brings you down to normal at the beginning. And then it brings you up and doesn't take you as high and drops you a little bit below normal when you're sober. And then the same thing. And the next thing you know, when you're sober, you're flat. And that still happens with weed.
Oh yeah.
You know, all these kids think that weed, oh, well, it's not addicting. Yeah, you're saying not physically addicting, but you crave the mind escape it offers.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Both. I mean, obviously, towards the end when I got sober, I was addicted to heroin and meth, and there's no denying that based on what my life looked like, right? But when it first started, when I was that kid on the front end in high school, a teenager, I was addicted to weed. Like, I don't care what you say. And it's like, obviously, I have that experience of heroin, meth, all these drugs, and weed, and they're way different. But for me, I was still addicted to weed in that sense where pretty soon it was like when I was high and stoned, I was normal. And then when I wasn't, I was just like, where's the weed? Like, oh, I need to hit up my dealer. Oh, I need to get this other shipment in. I need to get high again.
Yeah. Wow.
I remember telling this story last night. I was just talking with my buddy, and I think my junior year or senior year, I had gotten 3 days off weed. And I was just going around at school to all my friends. I'm like, I feel high right now. Like, I feel so weird. Like, I haven't smoked weed in 3 days. Like, what's going on in my mind? These sounds, these smells, these sights. And it was weird for me to be sober 3 days off weed because like being stoned was the new normal. It wasn't even being stoned anymore. That's just how I operated.
Right.
Wow. I don't know, man. You know, and, you know, I don't want to go on this thing. Some people are using weed right, you know, or the older people, and there is some medicinal benefits, but
I think it's making it your thing, like you were saying. Yeah. So it's like if your whole life and identity becomes wrapped up in like, I'm a stoner, I'm a weed smoker, I do dabs, whatever, then that's like indicative of an issue. If it's like part of your identity and personality has to do with the fact that you smoke weed.
Yeah.
Right. What does that mean?
And it doesn't work. It can't work for when you've taken it too far and you have the brain like we have. I can't smoke weed. It doesn't work for me anymore. And so.
Well, I really liked what you said, Hawk, about, you know, working with these kids, you know, we're planting the seeds, you know, and then years down the road, like, oh, maybe those old bastards know what they were talking about, you know. Yeah. Unfortunately, they'll have to, you know, drag their life through the mud and all that stuff, you know. But would you guys say with recovery, you know, a lot of people say marijuana is the gateway drug or alcohol is the gateway drug. You know, I used to think was alcohol for me for the longest time, you know, even in early recovery. And then, you know, even thought it was marijuana too, you know, because yes, it does, you know, you try those things and it does kind of open the door. You're like, oh, well, I tried these things and I can try some other things. But having a little clean time on your belt, wouldn't you say it starts with like with trauma and neglect and abuse at home or sexual abuse, those kind of things that, you know, like with the stuff that I had, I never really talked to anyone about that when I was a child, you know. Right. So I kind of just buried it deep down inside. And so some of the things I did when I was using were as a result of what happened when I was a younger kid, you know? So
yeah,
it all starts up here. It's not like the outside substance that starts it, you know?
Well, so that's cool that you're bringing this up. Like, and this is like, have you ever known anybody that that you're like, man, they just can't get sober? Like where you've thought like I've literally thought like, I don't know if they can get sober. Like, I believe that everybody can get sober, but I guess where I'm going with it is like some people have experienced in trauma at such a high level. Like I know a guy that passed away, a guy that I worked with, and this dude, he loved to go to jail. He liked jail. He liked being in prison. He could stay sober in prison.
Right.
He'd go in prison, got spiritual, found God, like could just stay sober, and he loved it. And then he'd come out and he couldn't stay sober, dude. And he tried and tried, and it ended up taking his life. And I the trauma that I don't know. I think the trauma was so intense that he experienced when he was younger that how can you say that? It drives me nuts when a lot of people don't get it, right? But it drives me nuts. People be like, oh, they just need to quit. What is he doing with his life and blah, blah, blah. We don't know what their brain looks like inside. And when they take a substance and all of a sudden it just says, wee,
Right.
here I am. I'm not hit by this trauma. This substance it blocks out this trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And I know everybody, but I just made me think of that, dude. And he ended up passing away. But I don't know, dude. That's an interesting thing to think about, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I worked with a guy that we did like an 8-hour fist stab, like 4 hours on Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday.
Wow.
And after we were done, I looked at the dude and I was just like, you can never ever use drugs again, like safely ever again, And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that
Wow.
same guy passed away as well too, But oh, that's tough. Like I'm working with a guy right now who
When you said that to him, safe, elaborate on that.
so like there's no way
because of the trauma he'd experienced. You're saying he couldn't use a substance.
Yeah, there's no way for me or you or anybody in this room to ever use any mind altering substances normal again, like some other people can. Like
Right.
some people can take a couple drinks and be done and be good.
Right.
So he can never ever safely use again. And that's what I was trying to get the point across to him is that, bottom line is you can't do drugs again, bro. You know what I mean? Or you're gonna die. And that's
some
exactly
people on the front end maybe are like a problem drinker or a problem user, and they might end up just like we did or needing to be sober, but they're not there yet, or their experience hasn't shown them it's like that they're powerless over it or that they need to surrender, right? It's like, oh, well, maybe I my boss smelled alcohol on me at work and he talked to me, and so I'm going to stop drinking. But it's like that guy can maybe drink again safely for another year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. But then like somewhere along the line, they might not be able to, where it just turns that corner from, I don't know, whatever you want to say, problem drinker to alcoholic or whatever. But then there's, people you meet like that, where it's like, you've had enough experiences that it's black and white. You clearly aren't at the point where you can ever safely use a substance again. Like you.
I want to jump in here real quick and say hi to Deb. She's watching from Scotland. She's
oh
got
nice.
triggers.
Deb.
Hey Deb.
Maybe you felt like you didn't get more.
Yeah.
Why do we punish ourselves so bad? We lead a life we don't really want to lead, but self-harm still somehow.
Yeah.
I started and didn't get a choice. I was only 16-year-old. Deb, thanks for watching from Scotland. We love you.
Oh, I think she brings up a good point with like, didn't have a choice. And like, why do we still do it when we know it's so bad? And that's like one of the things that defines this problem of addiction or alcoholism, however you want to put it, is that we're using against our own will, right?
Well, some people too, you don't get a choice. That made me think of I met people who didn't have a choice. Their parents got them into a substance at a young age. Like, that.
I know this guy, his dad shot him up with meth when he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Whoa.
How do you have a choice at that age, right? It's forced upon you.
Well, and it's not like as we're children and growing up, it's not like we're, all right, I'm going to grow up to be a homeless junkie on the streets. You know what I mean? But now being in recovery a little bit and looking back, like, unfortunately, everything had to happen that way, so I could get to the spot I'm at now and be the person that I am now. Unfortunately, I drug everybody through the mud and hurt them and all that kind of stuff. But today, we're more closer because of it, and we love each other a lot more. But it's like, I didn't, I had dreams and hopes and plans of doing other things and went down that road, So it's tough. It's tough. Like I'm working with a guy right now who he'll get some clean time under his belt, and then 6-9 months he'll relapse. But every time he relapses, he goes right into psychosis, and so it's crazy to think how powerful addiction and alcoholism is, and that obsession and the allergy. Even though, like we're just talking about, even though he knows in his heart that every time he does that, he goes right into psychosis and paranoia.
Right.
I'm still going to go do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, which is, it's baffling is what it is, you know, and we've all been there before.
Cunning, baffling, powerful.
Yeah.
That's why it's a problem. It seems like an obvious point, but I like bringing it up because it's like you're talking about people that say, "Oh, just quit, just put it down, whatever." If it was that easy, you wouldn't need SOAR. We wouldn't need this podcast. You wouldn't need 12-step groups. You wouldn't need AA, NA. You wouldn't need treatment centers, right? If it was just a problem where you just make a decision, "Oh, I'm just going to stop," right? That's like what defines it being an issue.
So Deborah put Train Spotting here. Yes, that is a horrible, horrible movie. I've watched that movie many times when I was out there using, and you know, I'd have some brief moments of, you know, I wouldn't say clean time, but you know, where you're drinking and just trying to smoke weed, and you watch that show, and then next thing you know, you're out the door and pulling the plunger back, and it's over. You know what I mean? Without even a moment of thought. You know, it's just. Yeah, that's a very good show and a horrible show, all in the same sentence. You know,
I like what you were saying about when you're talking about the gateway thing. And, you know, people discuss that, you know, whether weed's the gateway drug or alcohol or cigarettes or whatever, and it's funny having those discussions. But
helium.
Helium, exactly.
whippets.
Yeah. But I look at it like all those things are like on the surface obvious gateway drugs for most people, because someone that ends up a heroin addict is going to start by smoking weed. You know, you don't just start when you're 15 years old. Your first thing you've ever done is, "I'm going to shoot heroin." You're going to start by, "Oh, the party scene," or drinking with my friends out of the parents' liquor cabinet, or smoking weed. And then it doesn't mean that that's always going to lead to that. But for people that like us, that it does lead to, obviously that's how it starts.
Yeah.
But the underlying thing with all this, like you said, is, you know, trauma. And that's super common. And depending on what case study you look at, it's somewhere between like 85 to 95% of people with addiction have some sort of trauma in their lives. And it's however you define trauma. Trauma can be like something as serious as the dad shooting his 8-year-old up with meth, to abuse, to sexual abuse, to it can be your dog died when you were little. And that's traumatic. And like, you can't define trauma for any one person.
Right.
It's how you handle it.
Wow.
Right.
Right. Parents get in a divorce at a young age. That
traumatic.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've been thinking about like the social, like some people are born not able to be as like, they don't have the ability to, they struggle with the ability to communicate.
Yeah.
They don't feel comfortable in social interactions. They don't, and that has been me. Like,
Me too.
yeah, probably like, would you say that it's pretty common? Then I remember the first time I took opiates or Adderall or amphetamines. I take those pills and I'd be like, I wanted to be around people.
It allows you to come out and play.
I wanted to go to the family party. Let's come on. I'll talk to my grandparents. I'll call you back. I'll call, you called before I take the pills. I see someone calling. I say, "Are they mad at me? I don't want to answer this, dude. Like, why did they call?" Like, and then I take a couple pills. I'm calling Tyler back.
Right.
Like, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? And so
I see that a lot with drinkers too.
The social side of being a substance abuser. The party scene, going to the bar. You go to the bar. Everyone's my best friend at the bar, and I don't have no problem talking to anybody.
Yeah.
So then that becomes the reward. Like, dude, I suck at being social and I feel awkward. And that's not a good feeling, to feel awkward.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now people take a substance that says, "Oh, you're not awkward anymore," and people like you.
I have arrived.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like trying to fit in junior high and high school, trying to fit in with the certain crowd.
Yeah.
And then, you get into the one crowd and you start, with marijuana and drinking and stuff. And you're like, you start to socialize.
These are my people.
I mean? Yeah, absolutely. You start to socialize, you start to have more confidence in yourself. You're start doing a little methamphetamines and you're a big old badass, and walking through high school and stuff like that, thinking that you're king shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and you can just talk to anybody,
that sucks, man. Right. I don't know how to help these kids.
Just want to jump in real quick again and say, hey, what's up, Australia, UK, California? Thanks you guys for watching. This is the SOAR podcast that I told you about. It's every Saturday at 11 o'clock here at the School of addiction recovery. Thank you.
I like what you were saying about like the phone call, and you're like, oh, I don't want to answer it. But as soon as you pop a couple pills, like, I'll call him back. And I've noticed that recently with clients or people that I'm working with. That's one of the tools we tell people to lean on is the group. And hey, like send a message on crew to all of us, or call someone when you're struggling. But there's certain people that I only get a phone call for them when they're drinking or something. And so like they start getting chatty. I'm like, hey, did you get something to drink? Are you drunk right now? They're no, I'm just calling, just to let you know how I am. And then I'm like, you can hear the slur in their voice, but then like when they're sober, they'll never reach out and call you.
Yeah.
And that's that same thing, right?
Oh yeah, it's the exact same thing. I was, I loved every holiday. I look forward to Christmas. It's sad to say, it really is. Christmas Day was with knowing I had pills in my pocket the entire day. Every house we go to celebrate Christmas, I had my little, 30 minutes before we go in there. I'm going to throw a couple perk 10s in the back of my throat and wait for them to kick in. I can't wait I want to be in this spot when they kick in.
Yeah.
And I want to be around these people. I mean, getting that specific.
Right.
And then, when I got sober, holidays are hard for everybody, but because I think everybody kind of does that on holidays. But nowadays it's gotten better. Now Christmas morning is Christmas morning, and
it's not about you and how you can feel good. It's about how you're going to bring joy to your family and your kids. Yeah.
I'm the one. That's a great point. That's all that was selfishness. And going back to the reward of these substances, which, I remember thinking that like when I'd be standing in a pharmacy getting my script filled or something and being so excited, I would miss anything. I would not leave this place right here, even for Christmas morning.
Yeah.
And that's why people can't get off these substances heroin and, it's maddening and almost just sad that there's substances out there that offer that type of arrival into life and that falseness of that euphoria. You know what I mean?
Well, it's that sense of ease and comfort that you're talking about,
right.
Just even having them in your pocket, you're going to be okay. So now we got to replace, that sense of ease and comfort with other good things in recovery, like how you said about Christmas morning is Christmas morning, you get to wake up and you get to be fully present in the moment and get to experience that with your family and stuff. Whereas before, there's always a time limit because I got to go run and get the next fix. You know what I mean? So you're not in the moment. It's, dad's got to leave to go get high, or else you're not even there for Christmas,
Yeah.
Right.
So
why don't you tell a little bit, if you want to, about like what it was like for you at the end before you got sober? Because I know you had issues with Christmas and the kids' presents and stuff. I think that could be powerful to.
Yeah. So toward the end of my using, I couldn't provide for my children like the last two Christmases. Had to have my family step in and provide Christmas for them. I've taken my kids' Christmas presents and pawned them or traded them off to the dope dealer for substances, which was that's a very dark place to be.
Yeah.
It's horrible to think that that's what I did, but that's where my addiction took me, to those dark places, and I don't ever want to go back there again.
Yeah.
That's why I do the things that I do now, just like I've said before, sitting in the back of that Jeep and cold, lonely, homeless, and afraid, and didn't want to be without my children another year, kind of got me to where I could kind of finally surrender and sincerely reach out for help, so.
Wow.
It's powerful though. I mean, it makes me think that like some people need that gift of desperation, or for it to get that bad in order to, like you were saying, be where you are now. Because maybe if, you didn't have those experiences of those last couple Christmases where you weren't there and you were homeless and you had to, pawn your kids' presents, maybe you would have just continued on being like a, half-assed dad for 20 years, which like could have been worse than you turning it around. And now you're there and the family man and like everyone loves you,
Well, I remember going and working for like a temp company, like around Christmas for like two or 3 weeks, and got like like a $400 check, and and then, okay, I'm gonna get the kids Christmas with this, and then next thing you know, I've spent all of it on dope, and then I have like $96 left, and I have 3 kids. Like, how am I gonna buy 3 kids? Christmas is $96, and then one of your friends ends up stealing your wallet and your money, and then you're like,
and you're dope.
Yeah. So now I have no money or no dope, and I'm very thankful that my family always stepped in to take care of my kids. I'm very grateful for them, and a lot of gratitude to my mom and dad, my sister, my brother, and just for them stepping in and never letting, because they could have easily said, well, just let them, some families just let them go into the foster care system, because everyone got busy life. But my family came together and basically raised my children for me, so a lot of gratitude to my family for sure. So
it's a blessing. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always thought if we could help people, if we could show people how to, I don't know if there is a way. There is a way, but like help people compete with their cravings, So that craving, there were so many times in my early recovery where it's like, okay, I don't want to do this. We just had a guy relapse just recently. He'd put together 7-8 months, and he was talking about it, and he just relapsed. And he said he just went on, he has no idea what happened. He ended up at the liquor store. He went on autopilot and drank and had this, it's interesting, what is that? Like, how do we,
that's addiction. That's alcohol.
That's straight, but like that craving, man. And I've been there before. It's like, I'm not going to pick up today. I'm not going to pick up today. Oh,
I just picked up.
I am going to go, God, but and you do, and you respond and you chase after that reward. It's, it's going to lead to divorce. The consequence could be divorce. And you still will do it. You still will do it. And people, so what do you do? What do you do when the thought comes in? And obviously you got to act early. What do you tell people to do?
Well, I think with that individual you're talking about, I think, like we've talked about before, that it probably happened weeks before he actually picked up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So stuff started going a little bad in his life, maybe with the marriage or the job, or just being depressed or stressed or something like that, So, and then his answer was, I have no idea what happened,
right.
So basically, but if you have some awareness and are able to track it back and be like, oh, I was restless, irritable, and discontent for 3 weeks now. And then the broken shoelace syndrome, you snap your shoelaces, and then I don't know, I'm just at the liquor store already. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
So, you got to be aware of all these things that are going on in your life, and reach out to people when you're struggling like that, to get over those cravings too, and
to prepare to basically keep your spiritual condition high, even when instead of just for 3 weeks letting it all pile up, and then you snap your shoelace and I'm going out, the hell with it. Like, I don't care. My wife's pissing me off. Blah. And then, but facing them and staying on your meeting attendance and reaching out to your sponsor. That's what you're like, keeping it up, keeping it all up.
You got to be aware of what you're doing and what you're not doing. But it's a trip. And you're talking about how all of a sudden, like you were saying, he said it just came out of nowhere. And
yeah, he doesn't know what happened.
I don't know why. And it's interesting because like a lot of times you can point to something that went bad, where it's like an event that happened. Oh, well, I went to my friend's barbecue and everyone was drinking, so I drank. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Or I got fired from my job, so I got high. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But for true addicts and alcoholics, it's like there doesn't have to necessarily be a reason. It's like living can make you want to get high. Like for like a true alcoholic,
Right.
waking up, oh, I want to drink. Oh,
Right.
breathing, I want to drink. Going to bed, I want to drink. My favorite football team, the Chargers win, I want to drink. The Chargers lose, I want to drink. The Chargers have a bye week, oh, I want to drink. And so it's like that's the baffling part, is that it's like even if you can't point to a specific thing, you know, you have to be aware of your overall life and maintaining your spiritual condition to combat that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what he did. He didn't use his tools that he's been learning over these last 6-7 months at all.
Right.
You know, like it just was non-existent. He didn't reach out. He didn't talk to anybody. You know, the prior weeks, I'm doing fine, doing great. Things are going well. You know what I mean? When in all actuality, he was probably falling apart, you know?
But that's the problem too, is like when things are going well, like I heard him say like, oh, life was great. Things are okay at work and okay at home. So like it's like a false sense of security, or like almost resting on your laurels. So you can't survive off the food that you ate a month ago. And the same goes with recovery and your spiritual condition. I can't stay sober today because I went to a meeting last month, right?
Right.
It's this daily reprieve and putting pressure on this lifestyle every day, even though like you feel like you're safe or don't have to.
Well, it's like that with your higher power of God, you know?
Yeah.
Things are going good, you know, I'm okay. And I'm not gonna, you know, but when things are going bad, I'm asking God or my higher power for direction and stuff like that. But are we doing those key essential things when things are going good? Are we still communicating with our higher power and God, you know, and talking to him when things are going really well? You know what I mean? So
It's a struggle.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's been me, you know, a prayer, you know, going into prayer. Prayer's been a big something I've been working on lately, in an effort to keep my spiritual condition high. I've been, you know, Tyler knows, Frank, you know, but it's like the competitive when I get overly competitive in my mind, or which can lead to resentments, or I set an expectation and someone doesn't meet that expectation, I get resentful, you know, and then I'm driving around practicing what I would say to somebody, you know, and then I'm getting mad. And then next thing you know, I have zero spiritual condition. I'm blocked, like it talks about in the big book and which ties into fear and everything. But this, since I met you and Frank, I hear Frank talking about it. This is what I'm realizing has been my problem, why I haven't been able to string together years and years and years that, you know, where I've always had my relapses, was because of that I'm never more irritated in my brain than when I'm going from person to person. I'm mad at this person. And I mean, you know, the social media doesn't help. I mean, I've gone on social media before, and everyone I scroll up to, it could be my sister posting pictures of her kids. Why is she posting that? You know, I mean, I can go from, when you get in that mindset, I mean, you guys, I'm sure, have done it, right? Where I'm just negative towards and everything that starts coming out of my mouth becomes this negativity, and I am not there. And now, if I let that go on long enough, it gets pretty loud in my mind to take pills.
Well, it shows you that at the end of the day, it's not your external circumstances or what's happening. It's your spiritual condition. So it's like I've even noticed in my own life, like the same thing could happen or the same situation. And depending on how I'm doing that day, or if I've been putting pressure on this lifestyle and trying to maintain a connection, like that's what makes the difference in how I react to it. So it's like one thing I've said before is that, you know, say something bad happens, like your car gets towed, my truck gets towed. You know, if I'm not doing well, I'm going to get pissed and my whole day is ruined. I have to spend all this money. But one of the times I can remember in my life when I was doing everything right and actually actively every day trying to maintain my spiritual condition, I went surfing one time in California, and I came back and my car was towed, and I just started laughing, and I was so grateful. And I was like, God, like, isn't this neat that like I have a truck that can get towed? Some people don't even have a vehicle, and I have the opportunity to face this situation. This is neat. You know,
we're
and
gonna go
it's
on
like,
a journey.
yeah, and it's like obviously it's not the situation. It was my reaction to it. It's the only variable there, and how I'm doing inside is the only variable, right?
Wow.
You know, I got an email the other day, and then it was like, you know, like these low jabs in a roundabout way, you know, and they've just been coming for weeks, and I'm just like, so I go to hit reply, and I had this like I'm just gonna ream them, like, you know, just straight, just, you know, cut the shit and just
Right.
and throw some real honesty down on them,
Right.
you know. And then I thought to myself, you know, the best reply is probably no reply, you
Yeah.
know, and deleted it, you know, said a prayer, went about my day, and didn't even think about it again after that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it was just gone, you know. And it's amazing that if I apply that and do that more in my life's so much better. But you know, like I'm kind of slow sometimes, and so I have to, you
Yeah.
know, like sometimes we forget to do that, you know.
That's what I've been doing in my prayers lately. I've been saying, please help me to like recognize when I'm going down that, like, you know, like, dude, that's the text message, or I get and I want to send out a text, and I draft it up, and I'm just upset, you know, could be to my wife, and then I say, dude, if I send this text, this is gonna make it so I am not a spiritual cat. You know, like I'm gonna be mad, and then she's gonna reply, and then here we go, the day's ruined.
Oh yeah.
Sit back and handle it a different way, because and I'm learning, dude, that is how I'm gonna achieve long-term sobriety.
Oh yeah.
I like who I am. When I start going down that road of I don't know.
The whole pause thing when agitated it's the real deal if you really practice it, you know, like sincerely, like really pause and take some time to think about things. And I mean, you don't have to reply to someone right off the bat, right? You can,
Right.
you can pause and take your sweet time and deal with it in a way that's going to help you keep your spirituality and your sanity and all that
And
stuff,
not cause wreckage.
right,
Yeah.
right. So
It's just interesting. I think it's cool. The further along we get in recovery and sobriety, it becomes less and less about the substance or like the drugs and alcohol. Like I don't wake up every day thinking like, oh, I can't do heroin today. You know, it
Yeah.
becomes more about how we carry ourselves in this world.
Yeah.
It becomes more about maintaining our spiritual condition. How are we going to treat people? How am I going to react to things? Like, it's all about relationships. I mean, I love looking at things as relationship. Like, how is my relationship to myself today?
Yeah.
How is my relationship to God or my higher power today? How is it to Tyler or to Dustin, to my family, right?
Yeah.
And like just treating people as like by themselves, not as a means to an end. Like, oh, what am I going to get out of this person? Or how am I going to get one over? You know, I get a
how am I to
text.
show them that I'm better than them?
Yeah, I get a text I don't like. Oh, how am I going to point out their hypocrisy? Like,
Yeah.
how am I going to win this argument?
I'm thankful for the recovery. Recovery is so beautiful because of this.
Yeah,
What we're talking about, like trying
yeah,
to act better and trying to react better out in life. Like, I'm thankful. It's the high. It really is. It's like you're stepping into life. You're finally stepping into life, and it's like the high adventure experience. Like, dude, this is sick. I'm handling things. I'm dealing with things. I'm sober, and then obviously confidence comes. It's just fun.
and then the not using, the staying away from the drugs, the alcohol, the meth, the heroin, that becomes just like a byproduct of what you're doing. Right. I think like that's like the more I learn, that's like how you get sober is not by, you know, obviously early recovery is a little bit different, but like that just comes naturally. And the book talks about it, right? How it's like, it's just a reaction to how we're doing the program and to our relationship with God. And like pretty soon we find that we recoil from the substance like we do from a hot flame. And it's like on no real active like thought or intention on our part. It just happens because we're doing this and we're living this lifestyle and we're working on ourselves. And like,
Wow.
it's so cool.
So Danielle Colby, I just want to say congrats on 6 days, no alcohol. And then Ricky Lyles, sorry about your loss. I can't even imagine what you had to go through 25 years ago.
Gordon, 113 days.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
was kind of working with a cramp here in the leg for a minute. I was kind of getting
Yeah.
squirrely. I was like, oh, I need some more water and stuff, you know.
Brian, what's
Yes, sir,
up,
Brian?
dude?
I just saw Brian recently.
Really?
Like a month or two ago. Yeah.
You need to come check it out, bro.
Yeah.
Miss you, man.
I saw Brian in Idaho.
Oh,
It was
really?
4th of July weekend, and I was at Lava Hot Springs, and he says hi to me, and I'm just like, how do I know this guy? Oh, that's Brian.
right.
That's funny. Yeah, make America surf again.
I want to talk
Make
about
America sober again.
I want
There you
to.
go.
I want to. We haven't talked about it yet on here, and I thought we'd just talk about it. I want to talk about exercise for recovery, like physical exercise, which is a big piece of our program, right?
It's one of the staples of SOAR, right?
Let's just talk about exercise. Like, so this morning, what we did for our group, it was so sick. Like, what a lifestyle. We came here, we met with our group at 7:30. We did a workout, and our type of gym's more like, it looks more like your CrossFit gym. I mean, we got the racks, but we did a partner workout and none of us really wanted to train. I mean, we're all just tired, but we did a partner workout where we rode 80 calories as a partner. Then we ran 400 meters, and then we did 80 kettlebell swings, so 40 each. And then we ran 400 meters again, and then we did 80 burpees, so 40 each. And then we ran 400 meters again as a group, and we did it. We got sweaty, and then we came back, and our moods were lifted, like noticeably. I don't know if you noticed. Everybody's.
Make sure to drink water.
I'm so scared. What was that?
It's a reminder to stay
Drink
hydrated.
water.
Yeah.
It's my robot life telling me how to live.
Yeah.
But so we come back, our moods are all lifted. We're talking, and then the next part of the prescription was to go and read. And so we went to this botanical gardens down here, and it was just beautiful, river running right through it. And we all isolated and we're reading our book. So we got our minds right through the exercise. We got our thoughts lifted as exercise does. We were more positive, and then we went right into learning, and we were all reading recovery and spiritual books. And it was interesting. We were all isolated, and we were all texting each other like clips of our books and what we were reading. And we were all separated, but we were all connected with the text. And and then, we did that for about 30 minutes, and then everybody had a prayer, and then we came back. And I just, for anyone who's listening, exercise and creating exercise, and your mind's dark, and going in and, whether it's jogging or walking, and then tying it in with some reading and some prayer is such a beautiful little prescription of help that is so simple that 100% of the time it'll lift your thoughts. 100% of the time.
I'm so glad you brought up the whole exercise thing, Dustin, is because, so for several years I spent, getting my mind right,
Right.
and I never thought I never knew life could be so much better when my nutrition's dialed in, and I'm
Right.
exercising and doing that kind of thing. Cause I never did that stuff before,
Right.
I never had to growing up or anything. Cause
Right.
I was always involved in sports and stuff like that, but early on in recovery, I'm working on getting my mind right, so it took me like seven, almost 6-7 years to get to a certain spot where I'm like, well, I think life can be a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm almost 400 pounds. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
not getting any younger. I need to
Right.
maybe make some lifestyle changes, which I'll tell you what, just doing that has been the biggest struggle too, because carbs and sugar is a whole nother addiction on its own, so, but when I'm doing those things, when I'm working my program recovery 100%, and I'm dialed in on my nutrition and the exercising, life is so much better. That's what I've noticed. I didn't think it could be. I mean, it was good already,
Right.
in recovery, but it's so much better when you're doing those other things too,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Think about how that's what I love about this program, is how it's like inclusive and balanced, and how we pair it all together. Because, I can go to an AA meeting and see the amazing spiritually fit people, but they're smoking cigarettes and eating McDonald's or whatever. Or you can go to a gym and see people that are super fit, but then they're pissed and they go in the parking lot and yell at people and freaking go home and beat their dog. And it's like, well, how are we going to like marry these, like this lifestyle together where it's like, I'm not just spiritually fit, but, physically fit. I'm emotionally fit, mentally fit. Like, what does that mean? What is health? And it's cool just like trying to put pressure on all of it to achieve like the optimal version of ourselves.
Wow. You've heard me say this before, but people come in here sometimes and they want to get abs and they talk all these aesthetic reasons. And the thing is the type of exercise we promote, like the stuff we did this morning, was a short 30-minute experience. Most of our training sessions, longest they can go 45 to 60 minutes. But a lot of it's brain strength training. A lot of it's like, okay, I'm very uncomfortable, but I can keep going, and you keep going. And then, maybe it's interval training and there's a 2-minute rest, So a lot of the stuff we talk about with people is like during that 2-minute rest, working on gratitude and prayer. So you're walking around the gym, or maybe you walk outside for a second during that rest and let the sun hit you and talk to your higher power for a minute. And then you go back in and you roll 300 meters, 15 kettlebell swings, 10 burpees, rest 2 minutes again. And what you're really doing there is you're having the mind argument on the row machine and through that whole thing as you try to match your intensity from set to set. And then during the rest, you're going into a spiritual meditative practice, really, because the exercise pulls you into the present moment, whether you know it or not. You cannot think about depression. You are not addicted to cravings can't get you. Nothing can get you. All you're really saying is, dude, I feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah.
But I like this because here I am. I'm here for the first time all day. And then you go when you go into that 2 or 3 minute rest in between sets, those prayers take on a different meaning, and the gratitude actually has a place to sit in your mind because you're so present. And I don't know, that's a very powerful practice, and that's what we do. You get the mind right through the exercise, and anyone who's listening, I challenge you to work. Let your brain, let that exercise improve your mindset, and then work on gratitude during it, and prayer, and get some sunlight. And next thing you know, you'll be crying tears of joy for your kids and your wife. And 45 minutes prior to that, you hated life. Somehow you love it, and you're crying, and you're listening to Enya.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's the same concept as the sweat lodge, where it's like it's forcing you to be present. Yeah. It's just like a cool tool. So it's like in the middle of a tough workout, I'm not thinking about like, what I have to do on my to-do list later today, or like, oh, I got to go to this party tomorrow, or I got to get this in for work or whatever. It's like you're thinking about the workout and how much it hurts and how much you're sweating. And it's like when we did that sweat lodge experience, which we're doing again next weekend.
You in, bro.
Yeah, come on. Look at that laugh. But it's forcing you through discomfort to be present. And that's a cool thing where it's like all that can get in your mind right now is like this experience and the drums and the music and the heat. And it's like, wow, it's forcing you to be present,
I'm
right?
living in fear on that one, Frank.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm very scared of that.
I'm always living in fear.
I don't want to break the circle at first, 10 seconds in. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, bro, that was almost me.
Yeah.
That was almost me.
Half of the people in there said the same thing.
When they shut that door.
Am I going to be the first person to have to be, excuse me, I need to leave.
So what we're talking about to our listeners is we do a sweat lodge, a part of our program where we go in and it's a Native American practice, and we go in and they put these rocks, and it's in a teepee, and they black it out, and we sit in there, and there's 3 or 4 different interval sessions. It's similar to training. I mean, it's right up our alley. I mean, you get uncomfortable in there. They shut those doors. It's blacked out, and and your mind's there. And then after I settled in, man, I just started moving a little bit, and then I just got into it. I was present, and I want that for you.
They're chanting. They're like banging on the drums and you're just getting into it, right?
Dude, it
It's
was
a different lifestyle, a different experience.
it brought it nice spiritual poise to my system, dude. Like that was a good experience. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But
Should have seen Dustin before we went. The day before, he was texting me trying to get out of it.
the
The same fear thing.
Yeah,
I'm just not.
same thing, bro. Like I don't want to do this. Why are we putting this in the like? I'm all negative. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like,
I got my kid's game. I
like-
can't show up. And
I was like, and I like press my authority as the founder of the program. Like
Yeah.
we're not doing this.
right.
You
And
should
then-
have just canceled it all together, Dustin. I'd have been okay with
Yeah,
that. to be
I
honest
should
with
have,
you.
but-
And then he's the most grateful and positive person after.
Afterwards, I'm hugging everybody. Dude, thanks for putting this together, Frank.
Can we do
And
this every
Mike.
week?
Oh, bro, I don't know. Well, anyway, I love you guys. Anyone that's struggling, we got our LT, his recovering addict, addict program, recovery in your pocket. All the stuff he's doing on his shows, incredible. Helping a bunch of people in the SOAR program. LT's part of our SOAR. We're just blended, and we're able to offer now. It's just cool how this has come about, but we're able to like all these. Our program offers like way more support since bringing LT and his program on board with us. And you know, me and LT, we met. He came in and doing the SOAR program. He's on his way to becoming a SOAR life coach. And anyway, we got some sick stuff coming out. Really cool things. We're working on right now this seminar, becoming a SOAR life coach seminar. Really excited about, because our whole thing is, I mean, we're not nonprofit. I'm actually a school teacher too. I work at a high school and I work with kids. I teach health and strength coach, but we're working on a program. We're a student to coach model, and we want to teach people how to be a SOAR life coach so that they could go out and work with other struggling students in the school of addiction and help them to recover and have the tools to teach them to train in a gym, eat healthy, all the spiritual stuff with our hikes and our reading, 12 steps, and so that we can really make it, spread our cause through coaches. Whether you're a coach in a recovery gym, I mean, recovery gyms are popping up everywhere. And so like these trainers in recovery gyms, we want to be a resource to them that could come into our and becoming a life coach seminar and teach them our system, our gym course, our nutrition course, and our spiritual course. Therapists, I mean, we could help a lot of therapists with their individual therapy practices. They could come in and offer becoming a SOAR life coach as a part of their practice. They could be a SOAR life coach as well as a LCSW or whatever, and they could know how to lead their clients into the gym, how to teach them nutrition, all our spiritual stuff, So we're working on that, and we're getting close. We're going to do our first one in October, our first seminar in October. A lot of it's going to be a lot of our alumni and anyone else wants to check that out. But LT's working on it. LT and I have been working on these videos. We're going to have a whole online presence where people. And the whole idea is to just create coaches so we can fight this war on addiction and have more competent coaches all over. We got people listening from Australia and Scotland and I don't know, who knows where it could go, but we're going to give it a shot because we feel like we got a good message and a good program that I just want to give it away, give our knowledge and content and just teach people it, and then we can all and grow this community, and hopefully one day it means something to be a SOAR life coach. Like, dude, you're a SOAR life coach,
Right.
It means something, and that's the goal. So thank you for listening, Tyler. I love you, man.
Love
Thanks
you guys for sure.
Thanks for everything you've done for me and
Thank you.
and helping this thing get to where it's at. And obviously, Frank, you know how much I love you.
Love you guys too. Appreciate what's going
LT
on here.
and Jake, and we'll see everybody next week.
All right.